Good evening, and I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. I am always delighted to come your way. In fact, I always look forward to Monday evenings, and it is just because it is a period that gives us the opportunity to discuss Ghana and to be well informed, particularly as we prepare into this coming elections. We have just about 33 days or so to the elections, so it means every moment counts, every minute counts. And for a few minutes to come, I'm going to tell you why. But as I have always been doing with you, I want you to get interactive with us through our social media platforms as you have it on the screen, including our WhatsApp lines, which will be exhibited on the screen, social media platform, the Facebook, the YouTube. You can just see all of them there. Get interactive with us. Invite your friends, your family members, and let them be part of it. This evening, as always, your host is Emmanuel Jr., the Chief Crusader Against Corruption in Ghana. I am rather going to start a bit on a sad note. And a sad note simply because, and I'm very sure by now all of you have heard of the demise of one industrious individual that we've had, or we did have in this country. And I'm making reference to the CEO of Kama Group of Pharmaceutical Group, or Kama Group of Companies, as it is referred to. I started telling you right from the beginning of this year, and it's amazing how time flies, that anytime you have the opportunity to go and vote, you are not just voting or making a decision for fun. You are not going to the ballot booth to go and thumbprint just to come out with whether your party has won or your party has lost. That is not it. Anytime you get opportunity to vote, you go into voting so that you'll be able to secure your future, so that you'll be able to secure your family, you'll be able to secure even your unborn generation. Because you see, the few moments that you have in going to vote, you should be have in mind that few moments, it is not just because of that moment, but any decision you take has the tendency of affecting human lives. Last election, 2020, we obviously went to make a decision. Majority did their voting. At least according to Electoral Commission, the results came. And it so happened that the current government, led by His Excellency Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, who want to be the president, they have been in charge of this 4 years that we've almost had, from 2020 till now. Decisions that they took, I'm going to show you one of the effects of that decision for you to appreciate the fact that governance is a serious business and we must not toy with it. We must not see it as a play. I want my producer to play one of the last words that we heard from the late CEO of Kama. Let's just have a view. I'm sure it is being looked for, and we'll have it here. So let's just have a view or listen to it.
Analytically, you will not buy. I am a pensioner, and all my money, I must confess, I know I'm on air. The money that I saved to take care of my pension time has been taken over by the banking cleanup. So I don't have my money to support such a wonderful book. And if I tell how much that I saved for over 30 years to take care of my position now, you weep for me. And I get nervous. How at my age to picket as Minister of Finance? Because the legitimate money that I made has been taken over and I'm not being paid. Meanwhile, it's gone to Parliament within the budget that they are paying us. They have been paid. About analytically, you will not buy. I am a pensioner, and all my money, I must confess, I know I'm on air. The money that I saved to take care of my pension time has been taken over by the banking cleanup. So I don't have my money to support such a wonderful book. And if I tell how much that I save for over 30 years to take care of my position now, you weep for me. And I get nervous. How at my age to picket as Minister of Finance? Because the legitimate money that I made has been taken over and I'm not being paid. Meanwhile, it's gone to Parliament within the budget that they are paying us. They have been paid. About 800 of my people have died. Others have got stroke. And when we meet, we see a lot of our people in wheelchairs. That's what the government wants us to be. That's what you want me to be. My right hand side of my mind told me that save, continue to save towards the future. Now, I cannot even afford 1,000 CDs to buy this wonderful book. I'm the chairman, so I'm forced to buy it. How do I buy it? So before coming here, I went to SNET. And you know what the digitalization is doing to us? At 70, at your birthday, if you don't come to confirm or validate your existence through the bio, the computer will stop paying you. Meanwhile, I'm a 3rd January 1950 born, 3rd January. So January has passed, February has passed, they've stopped paying my pension. So Prof, I had to rush to Senate office today to tell them that I'm still alive. So they said, okay, put your left 4 fingers there, 5 of your 4 fingers of your right, you're on the thumb, and they said, now you are through, you'll be paid. And how much is it? And I'm prepared to cough out of this little pension 3,000 cedis to this book. I think I need a better round of applause. I used to be a show boy as well, but now I'm down. But in spite of all these, I will tell you that it's a good book. So if nothing at all, please cough 200 CDs. I don't know, Adrian, how much will it cost in the bookshop, this book? Give me a copy. How much will it cost in Kingdom Books, for example? About 200, 250. So let's say the face value will be 200 CDs. So can I say that before everybody leaves this room and get the blessings?
Well, so you see how sad this is. This is an old man, 70 years. I'm sure he's 71 by now or before he died. But let's even say average of 70 years. And there's a man who has sacrificed his entire life. He's not going begging. He's not going stealing. His only crime was that after working so hard, he decided to save some of his earnings and rewards for the future, only for this government to mess it up. And I'm sure that contributed to his death. And so the point I'm making is that decision making as far as election is concerned is not a child's play. Because when you make the wrong decisions, policies that will be formulated and implemented as a result of those individuals you voted for has the tendency of letting people lose their lives. We want to wish the family our deepest of condolence, and to reiterate the fact that as we have about 33 days to elections, please, let us be very mindful of who we vote for. We are going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, I will introduce the topic that we have for this evening, and then we'll get interactive. Stay tuned.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to Accra.
Sure.
Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadrum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. Auto checks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Auto checks.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596 273 546 or 0596 273 547. This advert is FDA approved.
Ifo kra na menyisika. Edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia. Edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre mi yebusia ato taxi foforo. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodoɔ bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekuokuro bosia, susu account, ɛne daso wɔ hɔ savings account, me bada chain savings account, ɛne de akeka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 034229186. Na won so wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Me damwase.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome to the Royal Dazzle Event Center. With a lush and well-maintained lawn and garden, you are assured of the best serene and comfortable atmosphere to organize all your family and social events. Live the royal moments here with friends and family. The hosting capacity of 600 to 800 people makes Royal Dazzle the most versatile of places to host weddings, parties, funerals, conferences, concerts, and many more. Create your memories with us. Call us for inquiries on 055-814-8585 or 024-620-2144, or pass by and speak to any of our friendly staff. Locate us at My John, close to Zoom Lion headquarters. Royal Dazzle Event Center, creating memories.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to Accra.
Sure.
Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes. Check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadrum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much. Auto checks. Check.
AutoChecks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. Auto checks.
Back, and I'm so happy that you are still with us. As I indicated, I'm still your host, Emmanuel Jr., the Chief Crusader Against Corruption in Ghana. This evening, we are going to have a very interactive conversation. And this session, as we've always had, is going to be very educative. And you know it. I'm sure by now you all know the guest that we are having. He's a person that needs no introduction. In fact, he's someone that I have really grown to appreciate, and getting closer to him every moment makes me respect him so much. I mean, he needs no introduction. We are talking about, your own, my own, our own, Dr. Spielgabra. Dr. Spielgabra, as we know, has been former, so many formers, diplomat, and all that. But today, he's also the chairman of an organization known as the African Business Center for Developing Education. Simply put, ABCDE. And he's also a proud board member of Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana. Doc, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you
it's
so
so
much.
good to see you. Anytime I see you, I feel so encouraged. And I'm sure it's not just me. Most of the young ones, they always feel encouraged. Yesterday, when your flyer was circulating, someone sent me a message that, tell him that he's my mentor.
Oh, wow. Very good. I appreciate that.
Doc, how have you been?
We practice professional mentorship at ABCD.
Very well.
We go out to schools and universities and share our knowledge with them about things we did in our own lives and try to find out what their plans are for their lives and see how any knowledge we may have acquired by God's grace on earth can touch any of their lives. So we are always trying to mentor one person.
I think it is one thing we are lacking in this country, mentorship. Yeah. And I don't know why. You've been a former educational minister before. I am thinking that we should have had it as part of the structure, the curriculum. But I don't know why we have that gap. It is more like, probably in recent times, we are doing very well in terms of counseling. Yes, guidance and counseling. But some years back, we were not having that. And I'm hoping that as we progress as a nation, we'll get to a stage where we'll have a strong mentorship as a structure.
Guidance and counseling has always been part of the Ministry of Education structure.
Very well.
But respectfully and unfortunately, because of the subject matter we are talking about, in the Ministry of Education and in most other ministries, people don't gravitate towards those aspects of the ministry's work where there's no money to be shared or stolen or to be messed up with. So you find that people will not be doing much with guidance and counseling. They can't see any money there. There are no contracts to be signed.
I get you now. I get you now. Now, there's one thing we are talking about. I mean, it's very, very important, and it has to do with corruption, the impact of it on our economic development as a nation. Now, this country, whether we like it or not, one of the key things that is going to affect our elections has to do with the economy, how the economy is performing. Strangely, it looks like, with the exception of probably one or two, specifically the NDC flag bearer and that of Afrafanton, Mr. Alan Sherman, the others seems not to be talking so much about the economy. Either they are moving to digitalization or something else, which I don't know. Recently, there was a question that was posed by the flag bearer of the NDC. And I want us to quickly go through it. So this one says that 5 questions from Mahama to Baumia. Why has the cedi deteriorated in value from 4 cedis to $1 in 2016 to almost 17 to $1 today? In fact, it is not almost. I think it is now 17. Now, the second one, why has Ghana's public debt risen from 120 billion in 2016 to 763 billion in 2024? That's huge. Why did inflation rise to its highest in the Fourth Republic of 54% under your watch? as economic management team chair. The fourth one, why did you borrow more than 42 billion Ghana cedis from the Bank of Ghana and cause the central bank to post its heaviest loss of 60 billion? That's huge. Yeah. The fifth one, why have you run away from giving lectures on the economy? Why has the word economy disappeared from your lexicon? Doc, these are questions. Yes. Why do you think we need to put premium on the economy as far as this election is concerned?
It's not only this election, and it's not only in Ghana, but in other parts of the world, the economy actually is often the driving issue that voters have to decide to where their vote will go. Right. I think somewhere in the United States, somebody said, is the economy stupid? I mean, having a conversation with another. At the end of the day, however you describe the issues, you come back to whether your circumstances today are better than what it was 4 years ago, or whatever the time period that that country may have for their electioneering. So in our local language, we have that very, very famous phrase, which we must repeat to our voters. Look at your own circumstances and vote according to your circumstances. And that's the litmus test of where a person should vote. If you think that your circumstances today are better than what it was 4 years ago, just because you may have gotten some awoof contracts from here or there, and you are, enjoying some spoils of misgovernance, then you may vote in favor, let's say, of the incumbent. But if you are like most Ghanaians who are struggling, suffering under the heat and the effects, the negative effects of high price increases, spiraling, inflation, uncontrollable cost of living, then your fuel prices, your electricity prices, your food prices, your cost of educational prices, your health care costs, then you are like most people who are struggling to eke out an existence. And for that reason alone, without getting into all the very complicated economics and financial discussions, you know from your pocketbook that it's difficult to have 5 CDs or 10 CDs in your pocket on a daily basis. You vote for another party, at least for a party that has demonstrated before, as in the case of President Mahama and the NDC, our capacity to think about the people. We've had in the past some of our manifesto promises always for the people, always for development. And that's how NDC thinks. And if you think about the history of the party, going back to President Mahama, how he himself, was very concerned about ordinary people and concerned also about corruption, since that's the topic of this subject. There was a deputy minister, who actually once in her car with her driver and I think a friend, said out loud that, I wish I could make $1 million. She didn't say how she was going to make it. She didn't say she was going to steal it from anybody. But the mere fact that a woman minister felt that being in the Mahama government, she could or should make $1 million was grounds for her immediate dismissal. Have you seen such an example under the Bawumia and Akufo-Addo government? A minister just being dismissed for thinking about it. But those who have even done it and have had millions of dollars stashed away in different parts of their bedrooms, where housemates have been able to steal more than $1 million from them, they are walking free. Judges have been able to release such people's assets from the hands of the state, which also felt that we must put our hand on it. The Serious Fraud Office, or the special prosecutor who was trying to do something about that case, for example, he found that he was not getting cooperation. Because the president himself had literally written, some people call it a love letter, but let's say a complimentary letter to the person in question, and said that by the time your investigations are over, I know you'll be found not to have done anything wrong. So that's the master clearer. That's right. So she was cleared of all wrongdoing even before the police have started the investigation. And if you have that attitude of people being cleared for potential economic misdeeds, I'm talking about corruption here, I'm talking about misgovernance, talking about the economy, then what example does it set? That's the key that I think our president sometimes does not appreciate or understand. You have your own members of your government, of your family in government. At least 15 to 20 very, very, very close family members are in the government. We have all read the Japadia document, whereby they decreed and planned 7 to 8 years ahead of their coming to governance. When we get to this is what we'll do to capture the state. Now, when you capture a state, what do you want to do with the state? You have to you want to milk it. So you've started to capture the state, and you are milking it dry, and the dryness is being felt evidently across the whole length and breadth of the economy. And that's so when you have your family members in the governance, in the government, it makes it even more difficult to discipline anybody. And once you cannot discipline anybody, then all your colleagues also say, well, Kojo did this here and was not disciplined, so I can also do this here. Ahmad did this here, was not disciplined, so I can also do so. So it becomes a free-for-all. And the free-for-all is where we are now, which has led to the, the muddying of our real bodies and the galamseying all over the place. It's a free-for-all. There's no discipline.
No, I am happy you moved into that aspect. Now, this past 4 years or so, if you look at the integrity reports,
correct,
that has come, consistently our position has remained stagnant.
Or worsened.
Worsened.
Yes.
Now, the worst position that we had prior to 2016 was 43.
Okay.
Now, from 2016 to date, the best position we've had is 43.
I see.
So it tells you clearly that the best way or the worst position that we had, which we were saying that there was a lot of corruption, is rather the best position of this current government.
Okay.
Now, we talk about corruption every now and then. How does corruption, a lot of people may not appreciate it, but how does corruption affect the development of our economy?
Well, corruption is a very dangerous animal or insect. It's worse than a mosquito or a snake. It bites you from time to time. And before we forget, don't let's forget that our friend Martin Amidu,
that's right,
after being appointed as the special prosecutor and after trying to look for corruption all over the place, eventually wrote and told the whole of Ghana that the president himself, His Excellency, is to quote him, the mother serpent of corruption.
That's right.
I mean, that's an incredible definition of corruption for any president to have. But in any case, the economic impact of corruption is such that it undermines the ethos, the basic ethics of a country, and therefore makes the need to do good things unnecessary. Okay. So we start with the very obvious and popular area of, say, procurement.
Right.
Every government levies taxes on its people and then uses the taxes in theory to undertake development projects, build roads, build schools, build accommodations, etc. But if in the process of collecting the taxes, even at that point inside, even the collection of taxes, there's corruption even in the collection of taxes. So people are sometimes levied more than they should pay. And especially if you ask the foreign business community in Ghana, they are willing, because of what they claim to be unnecessary, attempts by public servants to extract or extort excessive taxes from them. But let's assume that they are paying their fair taxes.
Right.
After they've paid their taxes, what happens to the taxes? The government has to go out and, based on the government's own promises to the people, we'll build this here, we'll build one district, one factory, we'll build one village, one dam, and they don't do it anyway. Then they must procure, services of various institutions, or, procure goods and services to supply cement, bags, iron rods to build schools and what have you. In the procurement process, that's where most of the corruption begins. Procurement. And that's why we have a public agency that is supposed to ensure that the procurement processes are healthy and above board.
That's right.
But what did we see under the MPP administration? I think one of the first people they sent to the public procurement agency himself went and created, I can't remember the number, but at least over 10 or 20 companies within a few months of his being put in that organization. And then, according to reports that came out, he used that position to award himself and his cronies and things a lot of businesses while serving in that position. When the matter came out, again, instead of the president and the authorities, not only terminating him, but exposing him and trying him, etc. Then he got off the hook and went somewhere else. And I think somebody else was appointed who had committed another offense in other places. So, I mean, it became a merry-go-round, and no one could take any of those people seriously. But the effect of that is that the cost of the goods are mostly doubled and tripled. You've heard, for example, that cocoa roots, which have been a certain price, were generally twice or 3 times the going rate for similar procurements in the country or anywhere in the world. And unfortunately, the vice president, who is the current flag bearer for NPP, was found to have family members involved in that road sector procurement, sole sourcing.
That's true.
Now, the sole sourcing aspect of it is that you want procurement to be competitive, and the competition brings out the price.
That's right.
If there are 4 or 5 companies bidding for any project, then the natural effect of competition is that the price comes down.
That's true.
But when you don't want the price to come down, then you go to your friend or your family or cousin and say, bring this item procured by a school or a hospital, and I'll give it to you.
That's right.
And then you find out the prices are inflated, and the obvious reason is because somebody wants to share that price differential, which is the rent, as they call it in economics, with the decision maker in the public sector. So all those things have effects on the prices. So some products, I used to be the minister of, education, for example.
Right.
And so price of textbooks, price of school learning materials, if they are 30-40% or 100% higher than they should be, what is the effect on the economy as a whole?
Exactly.
So the whole supply chain is inflated as people add items to the prices until it gets to the government has to pay. And if for some reason government also cannot pay, then it becomes a judgment debt. So the whole economy right now, the debt of Ghana, and as you know, Ghana's current debt profile, depending on the exchange rate at any time, may be as much as 25,000 cedis per person per capita debt.
That's right.
So every child, even one born today, starts off his life journey with 25,000 cedis of debt hung around their neck. Now we don't see that necklace of debt when we are walking up and down the street. But I think somebody should invent such a debt necklace, which we can brand and people will have it under their neck, so we can see visibly the effect of that corruption and the debt that it creates for all of us. So the public debt, which is a major, impact on the economy in terms of it drowns the capacity of the economy or the country or the government to mobilize the resources that are necessary. It's an overhang, and so it presses down on the space, the fiscal space for any government to operate. Because you are now dealing with deficits and debts and deficit financing. And the effect is that all costs then increase across the board. Inflation gets very high. That's why you saw one of those numbers that President Mahama talked about, 54% inflation sometime in the last 2-3 years, the highest ever, I think, in Ghana's history.
That's true.
And the price increases are what we all see anytime we go shopping and so forth. So the procurement aspect, which I've just linked to the national debt and to the price increases, is one of the major sources of economic difficulty, debilitating economic difficulty for a country such as Ghana.
And you see, the end effect of it is that it is the taxpayer,
of course,
who ends up carrying the burden.
Absolutely.
It is not, and I'm happy you mentioned the debt that is on the neck of everyone. Averagely, even if you are born today, you start off life with 25,000 Ghana cedis debt. It just doesn't make sense.
How long will it take you to pay that debt?
It doesn't make sense.
So even a school loan, if you are given a school loan at a very low interest rate in the United States and even anywhere in the world, it's difficult for you to take 10 to 20 years to pay off the debt.
The worst part is when you go to other countries, the leaders will end up building a foundation for you to come and build on.
Correct.
But in Ghana, because of bad governance and leadership,
stealing,
and because of stealing, corruption, looting, we are rather digging holes for our unborn children to come and fill before they even start living life.
And interestingly, that you mentioned digging holes.
Right.
You know the biggest hole that has been dug in Ghana?
The most expensive
hole dug in Ghana.
And it's so sad.
And also it's a corruption.
Yes.
Because nothing has been built.
Nothing.
And yet, how much has been
the amount of money that has gone into it?
How much do they claim we spent there already?
So much.
$58 million.
Exactly.
For the biggest hole in Ghana's history.
$58 million. And yet, Ministry of Education is telling us that we have schools under trees.
That's correct.
We go to communities that we don't have even quality water. Boreholes, we don't have it.
Correct.
And this is the amount of money that has gone into people's pockets in the name of digging a hole.
Yes. And the worst part, if you want to deal with the religious dimension, is that this was based on a pact or a vow that a president swore with his God.
A personal vow.
A personal vow that, dear God, help me to become president. And if you do so, then I will serve you all my life and build you a cathedral. So these were the vows that we heard about in the Bible, the Samsons and the Josephs. They all had these kind of vows. But here's a vow that you vowed not to use government resources. And you broke the vow. So if you break a vow to God, what do you think will happen to you?
That's the point. That's the point.
The cathedral that you claim you are going to build will never be built.
It won't.
And to permanently be an eyesore and permanently be a reflection on the fact that you actually committed a sin in the eyes of God.
In the eyes of God. Doc, we've talked a bit about the procurement, and that is internal.
Correct.
Now we want to. Fortunately, you've been a foreign affairs, an international person, diplomat. How does corruption? I mean, what effect does it have on foreign investments?
Very bad. I mean, if you talk to foreign investors, which I do all the time, if you talk to even ambassadors and diplomats in this country, and they tell you about why companies from their countries are not interested in coming to Ghana, and rather will prefer to go to, say, Cote d'Ivoire or to go to Rwanda. People forget that Ghana is only one of more than 50 countries in Africa.
That's true.
And of course, the whole world, there are over 200 countries.
That's right.
And so the more competitive your country is, and the more attractive your country is, and the less corruption, because it's a tax. The corruption is a tax on business. It's an additional cost that no business wants to incur. If someone wants to establish a factory, and the factory will cost him, let's say, $1 million. And as soon as he comes to Ghana, even at the airport, in minister's office, people start asking for money.
That's right.
The guy has not established any
business.
He has not established any business yet. He has not made even 1 day profit, not 1 month's profit, not 1 year profit. People are starting to extract money from him. And it happens all across the place, so that that person will immediately be frightened and say, hey, what country is this? I know of companies that came, even Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest, potential investors in the world, came to Ghana, and after such experiences, they leave. And unfortunately for Ghana, when they leave, the message they carry across, which the worst part for us, is that negative. Oh, that country, be careful about that country. Oh, that country, I wouldn't do this kind of business there. Oh, that country, well, postpone it until they get a better government. I wouldn't make this. That's the kind of language they speak among themselves at dinner tables, at cocktail parties, in the quiet hours, on telephone, by fax, by email. So you may not hear it. It doesn't come into the press. They are very obviously concerned about themselves and their reputation, their image. They don't want any government to find foul with them in terms of anything they've said or written. So they will not say these things publicly. But their private actions, their private recommendations go against the country, and all of us suffer based on those kinds of experiences. So it's very important that we find ways to nip corruption in the bud, and that we encourage citizens to be, more public spirited. It's very difficult to have a public spirit, and our Crusaders board has people like Dominovo and Yahutamaklo and others who are very public spirited. General Mensa and others on it. And these are people who really believe in serving the public.
That's right.
Now, many people don't understand the difference between public service and self-service. Many of us became public servants, even briefly, to serve the public. The word is public service. And the description for you is public servant. People want to be public servants and serve themselves at the same time. So it's not a self-servant.
That's right.
It's public service. And fortunately for people like us, because our parents, our grandparents may happen to be public servants, we already knew the culture of what a public servant was. You're not supposed to be coveting your neighbor's house your neighbor's car, because this guy has, got a big car, a big house, and you are constantly bleeding inside. No, public servants are not supposed to think that way. But it's very difficult for some people who just want a job, they want a position, and they go to public service. But without the ethos, without having imbibed the culture and the thinking, the reflection, and that's an internal process. How to behave yourself as a public servant. How not to take even a pen from an office, which I never did.
That's right.
Assets of various kinds were at my disposal. If you're the first Minister of Communication in Ghana,
that's right.
All the frequencies of all the radio stations are in your hands.
That's right.
As first chairman of the National Communication Authority, all the frequencies, you can take 3, 4, 5, pack them
somewhere
and leave it for your family or cousins, and it will appreciate in value. A few years later, it's worth 3 million, 10 million, 5 million. You can sell it to anybody you want. And if you have people like us who didn't do those things, we want to tell Akufo-Addo's government that we have done that. We have managed to behave ourselves in the past. So why is it that some people find it so difficult to behave themselves? In any case, he told everyone that if you want to make money, don't come into my government. Make your money outside. But people saw him helping others in his own family to make money. So they all jumped into it.
It's a free for all. But how did it switch? Because you see, when I was growing up, there was one thing that we all had in mind. Because we were told every corner you pass, you will hear it. The empire is Ahunya. The empire is Ahunya. Good name is better than riches. Yes. Good name is better than riches. Today, as we speak, the average person believes so much that riches is better than good name.
Yes.
Why? How did it get? What happened?
Well, I think for all many years we have not done well enough to appreciate those who went and served the public. Even in the private sector, there are many good people who served the public through the private sector. We have not really identified, recognized, and even rewarded them sufficiently. So people see best something award, best industrialist of the year, best this and that. And some of them put their photographs in the papers, celebrate themselves and celebrated by others. I hope most of them are good, but then there are people who are also men and women of integrity. Apart from the Best Teacher Award, which was established, I believe, in the Rollins era, and I had the privilege of identifying some of the best teachers and giving them awards. Now, the Best Farmer Award, I think also established under the Rollins regime.
Rollins, that's true.
So Rollins tried to identify certain ways of rewarding individuals for good service to Ghana, but many others do not come with that in mind, and they probably want to have a best or the most corrupt person award to satisfy themselves and their family.
That's interesting. There is in all of this, one thing that is really of a negative effect, and the Afrobarometer survey or the report confirms it, is the devaluing or the decreasing of trust, public trust.
Absolutely, institutions.
Especially in institutions.
Yes.
And it is just because of the perceived corruption.
Correct.
You see, we always say that we want to build strong institutions and not strong individuals or persons.
Yes.
Obama said it. We all believe in that. But the fact is, day in, day out, our institutions are becoming polarized, and individuals are losing trust in the institutions. And it is worrying because it is a serious threat to the democracy that we are practicing.
That is true.
How do we change this?
Institutional faith in still confidence. I think if we go through again the Afrobarometer, institutions have been mentioned, and I won't have the proper order, but I know the presidency is usually evaluated, Parliament is evaluated, the judiciary is evaluated, then the police service, security services are there. Then often it comes to journalists and sometimes even men of God and so forth. So there's all categories of people, business executives. It's not an easy question to address in terms of how did we get here and how do we get out of it. But I believe that it has to start with each individual and the confidence that they have in themselves and the faith that they have in doing the right thing. But as I've said earlier, we must reward good people suitably. And I don't know all the various recognition systems and award systems and medal systems that one can invent. But I know that we had the best example in our first president. He was trying to set the example for our foundations. President Kwame Nkrumah decided that he will not be corrupt and that everything that he did will be for Madagana.
That's right.
But how come he got such a bad name? And who gave him that bad name? It was his opponents, political opponents, who he will not allow to steal the public purse, who instead of admitting that Nkrumah is not allowing us to make money, Nkrumah is not allowing us to make money, they won't say that. They say Nkrumah is a bad man. He has Kankam Nyame in his back. He's doing juju. He's doing, so, they used the public imagination and told wrong stories about him. And I guess he wasn't able to, counter these stories effectively until people really believed most of what they were reading. And when it was overthrown, they also contracted musicians and contracted the graphic designers and cartoonists to draw Nkrumah in the most devilish of cartoons and characters. Until some of us who were very young at the time wondered what was going on. But I happened to have been a young pioneer. And that was one of Nkrumah's ways of putting a seed of the right mind amongst us as young people, so that hopefully some of that group will grow and try to fertilize that, the acreage that had been planted and produce the right kind of crop. But they are there, and there must be a process by which we should identify all young pioneers one day.
That's right.
Let us meet in some assembly hall and find out,
important.
Hey, what are we doing? Who are we? Where have you been?
Very important.
What is left of the remnants of that group, the residual of that group who had that mindset that implanted in us. And then the people in those days, before you get into the public service, you have to go to the Ghana Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute at Winneba. All public servants had to go, and the Americans and people who think that we say they went to get indoctrinated, and which gives it a bad name. But you go and get the doctrine, you go and get the philosophy of Nkrumahism and what it stands for. Why do I have to have ethical behavior? Why do I need to be honest, an honest civil servant? Why do I need to be fair to, ensure social justice in my administrative decision making? Those are the kinds that people are being taught. But so when you go there, you come out, you become a much better person. So we know that people like President John Evans Atta Mills went to the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yes.
That's interesting.
He was one of the students there. So one of the attributes that he carried all the way to his death was the principles of, I'm not here to make money, I'm here to administer the government. This is what endeared him to President Rawlings, which made Rawlings select him and say, look, this man can actually be a president after him. There were some misunderstandings and disagreements, but it wasn't about money or misbehaving behavior. But I think it was, a very well-known Kwame Pienim, who went at one time to the Usu Castle, where President Mills was, and said, look, he had a delegation which had come to present a certain parcel to President Mills. But President Mills, no, I don't deal with such things. You can take a parcel somewhere else.
Interesting.
So
that's really, really interesting.
A president who rejected the parcel, but there's another president who, on video, has been seen collecting a certain large parcel
with all the energy, the enthusiasm. Doc, you know of the late CEO of Kama.
Oh yes,
have you heard of the story?
Too well. Kama,
so sad.
Dr. Ajikumadu was actually one of the mentors of ABCDE, which you just mentioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Africa Business Center for Development.
So you work closely?
Oh, work closely with him. He used to come to our programs. The last one was at Laboni Secondary School. We have a photograph with him, and he would tell us anytime we have a program and we want him to come, we should call him. And he told us stories about how he mentored his own children, let them do all kinds of work that they didn't think they had to do.
That's
because they thought they were the children of a very wealthy person. And said, well, they shouldn't do certain kinds of work. But he said, no, we learn how to be a seamstress, learn how to be a shoemaker, learn how to do all kinds of so-called, low-level work. So you appreciate the value or values that he was leaving behind. And he has died leaving a legacy of, the financial hair cutting. The haircut was supposed to cut people's hair, but sometimes their head was taken off.
And that is exactly what happened to me. Earlier on, we played one of his last videos when he was lamenting about how at his age his money has been locked down. And I am like, it is very possible that out of frustration contributed to his death. Doc, take a water. Let's go through some of the messages that has come, and then we'll get back to Doc. This one says, this failed MPP government should go out there. They should go out there to look for all the workers who were rendered jobless. when they irresponsibly collapse some banks and other microfinance companies and parade them at the Independence Square for the whole world to see the harm they have caused to them. This is Asanko from Santa Maria. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Listening to the CEO of Kama, I was always weeping. May his soul rest in perfect peace. This tells you how wicked this Nana Addo's Baumia's government is. Look at the life of the UT Bank CEO, Mr. Mwabeng, Pakwesi Indum, and many more. Any Ghanaian who votes for this NPP government supporting corruption, wickedness, and evil, and they will face the consequences. God save us. Okay, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel Wilson Jr. Never follow a leader who is more in love with power than people. Monsters exist, but they are too few in number to be truly dangerous. More dangerous are the common men, the functionaries ready to believe and to act without asking questions. Capitalists behave like capitalists wherever they are. They pursue the expansion of value through exploitation without regards to the social consequences. Let's say enough is enough to the capitalists. Prince Akutu of Okre constituency. Mr. Wilson, my name is John from Volta. Ask Baumia where they built the factories. He should show us the factories. Thanks. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm enjoying the show because you are doing good. Baumia is lying to Ghanaians. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Good evening. I'm in Team Jamira, all the way from Uraura, Oti region. May God Almighty bless you all for the great job you are doing. Government is instituted for the common good, for the protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness of the people, and not for profit, honor, or private interest of any one family member or class of men. Let's voice and vote against this MPP government. Enough is enough. You didn't add your name. John Mahama is coming again because during his tenure, my investments did not receive a haircut. My business was doing well. Toyota rate for Uber was 19,000 cedis. The youth could afford rent. With 7 cedis, you could eat good kinky and fish. The dollar was 4 cedis to $1. MPP government, dear, never again. Lalai from Ablade, Efia Kuma Zongo, Takrade. If Baumia can't answer the 5 simple questions from the former President Mahama, he should go to sleep and stop the lies of I will create so, and so jobs during my 8 years. Okay. When Dr. Baumia got the opportunity, what did he do to the economy? And today he's lying that he will create 4 million jobs in his term as president. Even the NAPCO they themselves created, what happened to that policy? Liars. My greetings to, okay. Mr. Amidu, description of President Nana Addo as mother serpent of corruption. Ghanaians didn't take our time to really think of that statement. It was or is a very deep statement, but Ghanaians just took or take it lightly and now see the effects of that statement today. This is Aaron from Oyarifa. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Fantastic program always. More grace to your elbows. I cannot come to terms with Baumia wanting us to bite for him. Maybe vote for him after 8 years of suffering economically, suffering from insults, etc. All MPP lovers should be concerned with the output of this government. Okay, good evening. I don't think there is corruption in Ghana. For me, what we are practicing is greed, stealing. Corruption is a game for a certain class of people, well accepted, from Kaiser in Techiman. It is only Nana Addo's time that everything in Ghana, from security, recruitment, university students, hall accommodation, is protocol. Why? Good evening, Mr. Wilson. How are you? Is Baumia going to finish his previous promises before tackling the current promises? This is from Pizarro from Ashaiman. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm George from Sugakope. It's surprising that the propagates of corruption in 2016 have taught us corruption. God have mercy on them. Hi, Mr. Wilson. This government has wasted Ghanaians' time for 8 years. They have shown that they have nothing for Ghanaians, so we should not entertain them again. You didn't add it. Okay, this is from Asari Kwesi Augustine, Upper Denshire East. Mr. Wilson, you are the best because you guys speak the truth. My name is Bismarck Bini from Tema, Newtown. Yes, if Akufo-Addo can never complete National Cathedral, how can Bawumia lead Ghana safely? Good evening, Mr. Wilson Jr. Dr. Eko Spio-Gabra embodies the leadership Ghana needs to prosper. His expertise in trade and industry is unparalleled. Unfortunately, the current administration led by Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia has hindered progress through poor governance and rampant corruption, also compromising our water resources. It's time for a change. We can't afford another term under NPP's leadership. This is Aigbe from Tamale. Good evening. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Please, kindly tell Honorable... Okay, this is... All right, I'll tell him later. This is Honorable something, MP for Kwewu. Okay, I'll tell him later. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. And to my one and only boss, Dr. Eko Spio-Gabra. I'm always glad listening to my boss speak. Nothing said about this government the better. This government has lost their moral value because we the citizens have lost trust in most of the public offices. That's why JDM is needed urgently to save this country with the help of people like Dr. Eko Spio-Gabra. I'm Fuseini Mohammed from Sefi, Adabo Krom Polyclinic in the Western North. Ghana needs resetting indeed in all centers. What a governance they really need. What a governance. They really need an applause for mismanaging our economy. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. A leader without a vision fails to lead himself. Fails to lead himself as far as others are concerned. Bawumia has nothing good for Ghana except lies. Mahama, no size. Our new president. Greetings to Dr. Eko Spio-Gabra, and this is Andy from Insawoke. The messages keep coming. Doc, we are getting closer to elections. We need to make a decision.
Yes. Most people have made a decision already. But there will be
most people,
5-10%.
Exactly. And those that have made decisions already, there's a possibility that some will want to change their mind.
It's possible as well, yes.
Doc, we have two leading political parties, yes, the NDC and the NPP.
Right.
In terms of corruption fights,
yes,
what differentiates the two?
So that's why, a very important question. That's why I began at one point to try and get into the history.
You're right.
You see, until people understand the trajectory, where people have, where the parties have come from historically, and so, and therefore what their current personalities are, you can't then tell how they will evolve into the future.
Very true.
Because they say the past is prologue to the present. Now, it's very important, as quickly as I can,
right,
to remind us that the UGCC supposedly invited Kwame Nkrumah from the Europe and America to come and be their leader, CPP. He came and discovered that these people didn't seem to be ready to serve Ghanaians. They were interested in serving themselves. That is the JB Dankwa and the Buzia tradition, as they call themselves. So Nkrumah split from them that, look, these guys are, as they call themselves, intelligentsia. They were big suit-wearing, politicians who were just interested in retaining their privileges when the white man left. While Kwame Nkrumah wanted a governance system that would give ordinary people a chance to, maximize their potential. So that was the fundamental difference between Nkrumah and the UGCC. And that fundamental difference has not changed from that time till now. People should understand that. So those who have followed Nkrumah, such as myself, and such as President Mahama, whose father was a minister in the Nkrumah government, right, understand the history.
Right.
President Mahama's father was a minister in Kwame Nkrumah's government. So what kind of mindset do you think John Mahama will have?
And direct mindset.
Direct mindset. Yeah. And my father also was a public servant under Nkrumah's government. He appointed my father as an ambassador. Wow. So we have that mindset, and we haven't changed. Now, the other side of the people are those who were just going to steal Ghana's resources. This Galamsey would have taken place on Nkrumah if these NPP guys had their chance far long ago. Nkrumah blocked them, and just made sure they didn't have access to the natural resources of Ghana. And they had to work for a living. So some of them became private business people, which was fine. Yeah. But as a public service, if you're not good or you're a thief, Nkrumah will not give you a chance to misbehave. All the way till they overthrew him. So they had to go all outside the country, go and get the CIA from the United States, where I served with America as ambassador, to come and overthrow Nkrumah in Ghana. They overthrew him. Then you had the military governance period of Achampo and others, who actually tried to rehabilitate some of Nkrumah's philosophy. Yeah. But they also fell foul of their own indiscipline. Rawlings removed them, come back to Liman. Liman didn't also satisfy the tenets that he lived for. Rawlings came back. And of course, Rawlings tried in his own way, as a young man without tertiary education, to provide the discipline that the military taught him, and also what he felt Nkrumah's leaders were trying to do, to bring about probity, integrity, and accountability. These were the three pillars of the PNDC era, if you remember.
Yeah.
Integrity,
right.
probity, and accountability. Which other governments have come in and pronounced such words to represent what they stood for.
That's right.
So that was the PNDC era, and that was when I became a minister, served under Rawlings, and then Rawlings also brought Atta Mills, who also was a very disciplined Nkrumahist, went to Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Winneba before becoming president, and then Mahama, whose father was an Nkrumahist. So when you see that trajectory, that is the line of people who are dedicated to serving the public and not stealing money, not dipping their hands in public office. It's very difficult for people to understand that you can come to a ministry, find so many things going on, sign a lot of contracts, millions of dollars, without stealing of it, or asking people to give you half of it or 1/3, and leave it, and people and let another minister come. But some people don't know that. But it's only under NPP administration where a Speaker of Parliament, for example, after he's retired or is leaving office, would ransack his own public sector house, take all the furniture, take the air conditioning, take the flower pots, take the deep freezers as part of his personal property, and go away. And then the Parliament has to set up a committee of inquiry to find out why. It can only happen under NPP administration. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I get it.
So that's how the picture is. It's only under NPP administration that the President of Ghana, President Kufuor, gave a government bungalow, which he had the right to do by law. He had the right to give that bungalow, but it wasn't being done earlier by other governments for ethical reasons. Exactly. It's not a matter of legal reasons. You can be right legally and wrong ethically.
Morally wrong.
He gave a whole government bungalow on the Independence Ceremonial Avenue to one of his ministers, as if it's a gift. And then MPP came and they're selling government bungalows for 7,000 cedis.
7,000 cedis.
9,000
Very
cedis.
cheap. Yeah.
5,000 cedis.
Yeah.
Whole government bungalows.
At
and they can just convert it immediately
exactly.
into millions of dollars.
Prime areas.
It hasn't been done by other governments. Nobody's saying that everybody in NDC is a saint. No.
Right. That's true.
NDC, we can't say all of them are saints, but I'm saying that there's the differences in the two parties is in their philosophies.
Okay.
Their personal philosophies.
Great.
MPP say that they are trying to build a property-owning democracy. Now you think that word means that property owning is that let us all own property, which may sound fine. No, but they mean property owning for themselves. And only for themselves.
That's right.
That's why Japadia is only for those. And even in Japadia, if you talk to an MPP person, they'll tell my friend, Japadia is not for all of us MPP. No. A particular family. Only less than 50 of them are the Japadia who are enjoying all the privileges and benefits of governance. And actually swore that they will capture the state and milk it dry.
And they are actually doing that.
They're doing it effectively.
Look at the PDS and all the attempted.
Scandal.
It's so terrible. No, we don't have much time. We've really gone beyond our time. But you are an anti-corruption crusader.
Yes, sir.
You are a board member of Crusaders Against Corruption.
Correct.
Now, this past week, something happened. And for me, I was so much impressed. Had to do with a flag bearer, someone who wants us to vote for him.
Yes.
Calling CSOs in governance and corruption fight,
True.
to come and listen to his policy on how he's going to govern the country and how he's going to fight corruption. You were there, I was there, because we were invited as anti-corruption crusaders. What do you make of what happened?
I think it only exemplifies what we've been talking about already, that President Mahama himself comes from a family tradition of public servants who are not there to steal and pillage for themselves. And he even remarked that in his government, of which I was a minister,
that's right,
there was only one appointee who happened to be his
direct
niece, and who was a deputy minister. He didn't carry family and friends and all kinds of people into government, as the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration has done.
That's right.
Where I think the secretary of the president has at least 5 family members right around there, the presidential household, chairman of this board, chairman of that board. I mean, it's excessive. That's right. They are all smart people, all well trained, yes. So that's why you should have gotten jobs in the private sector where they would have been competitive and been selected based on their merit.
That's right.
But when you know you can be selected on merit, and instead you use your political power and position to acquire a position, then that's where you're running foul of public sentiment. So the lecture by President Mahama was very much timely, and he gave many examples of what he would do when he comes into power, the investigations that will take place, the operation recover all the loot, which many of us obviously will support.
That's right.
And many of the things that he will do to improve the governance system of Ghana, and which will then attract the investment. It's all about economic development. And it's about giving jobs to people. And he's giving you the foundations of things that have been done to gain investor confidence for the businessman outside, whether he's Lebanese, he's Chinese, he's Indian, or he's Nigerian or South African, to say, oh, Ghana is a great place. Or even Ghanaians in the diaspora who have also kept their money. They are not interested in investing since they saw haircuts going on. They saw pensioners losing their money. But a Ghanaian overseas who has $500 million, $5,000 come and invest that money if he sees his brothers and sisters, incurring penalties, he will not. So that's why we need to reset the whole economic system, to reset the principles that cover our governance and attract both Ghanaian investors, African investors, foreign investors of all kinds, and rebuild this economy. $10 billion can come into Ghana within the next 2-3 years. With just the right change of mind, the right communication strategies, attracting the right investors, and Ghana will have a completely different profile. And I'll be happy to be part of the process by which this is done.
That's right. Doc, I'll come to you, give you the last 30 seconds for your last words. But let me just take 1 or 2 messages from the number of messages asked. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. I'm Emmanuel, watching you live from Teshuman in Bono East region. I really like Dr. Eko so much. He's my mentor. I want to pick averagely just one somewhere. Akufo-Addo is behaving like a pig I'm not getting pick. I don't know what that means. Anyway, sorry. So, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please kindly ask Doc for me. Possible probity and accountability. How will this be implemented to retrieve all looted money by this current administration if NDC wins power? This one says, and then it says, food and water, housing. And please kindly tell Doc to take note of this point. This is what we need as Ghanaians, and this should be taken into consideration very well. Doc, I think just if you can answer this, and then you add your last words for us to end the show, because we've gone past it. That's the difficulty in having an interaction with Doc. You'd never get enough of him.
Doc, you'll always come back. But,
yes.
Even though many people have asked many questions that one can answer and take more time, I think it's more important for me to, discuss the last issues as to the election day itself.
Exactly.
There'll be money being pumped into this economy. That $50 billion CDs equivalent that got misused or abused or lost and was declared as a loss technically in the books of the Bank of Ghana. Most of it may be printed currencies that are waiting to be unleashed into the economy. So watch out in the next few days, actually, especially the few days before the election, the amount of money that will be pumped into the system to supposedly pay all kinds of bills for road contractors. And you see all kinds of road projects going on all over the country. And just like when you have by-elections, as in North, etc.,
they'll push
all kinds of
everything
projects
within a
going
second. They move
as
out.
if the people are stupid and they don't know that nothing was happening here for the last 5-7 years, and you guys are coming at the last minute to impress us. So that's one kind of impression that will take place. There'll be a lot of commission of projects that are partially finished, almost finished, or partially. You see the highways and those flyovers being rapidly completed in Accra and other parts of the country. But above all is what will happen on election day itself, and the importance of the institutions that have been, mandated to ensure free and fair elections. The Electoral Commission, not going beyond their terms of reference to misbehave. They shouldn't forget that. Look, they shouldn't be doing anything to please anybody. Because when the judgment day comes, the very people they think they're going to please will be somewhere else. They'll be left alone to face the music. So they shouldn't try to do anything that will make them face the music. Because Ghanaians are very wide alert. And if you fiddle with figures that are trying to manipulate this so many pastors and bishops have already condemned them in advance. Churches that have attended said any person who dares to do this should be this and this and that. Those are pastors' language.
That's right.
But that also is in the world of God. They have been given some condemnation.
That's right.
But the military and the security forces also should behave themselves. No amount of intimidation, no attempts to cow people now. And we are suggesting and recommending, for example, that all the military should have larger than normal badges on their chest to tell us who they are, what their names are.
That's right.
There should be nobody covering their faces anywhere on election day and before that to hide themselves. And the citizens should take the law into their hands to arrest such people who come into their communities claiming to be security officers, but who are masking themselves. There's no policy on masking. And the Inspector General of Police and our security ministers should come and announce that anybody who is on duty on that day should not have their face, unexposed.
That's right.
Then the back of the security person should have their name, or Ting, or Bing, or Kwachi, whatever it is. Big and bold, that you can identify even 30 feet away, that you are the one who committed this offense.
That's right.
They're not there to commit offenses. Ghana is not at war, and they should not create any war-like situations in Ghana and unnecessary conflicts between groups just because of politics.
That's right.
That's my message.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much. I think viewers, you all agree with me that we need to bring Doc once more time, Doc. We need you again, probably before the election, so that we can get this education. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. On behalf of yourself and myself, we want to say thank you so much, Doc, for coming. Thank you so much. It's a privilege.
Always a pleasure.
Guys, so next week, we're going to have another interactive session. As always, this coming Wednesday, we are going to repeat this episode here on TV XYZ at exactly 11 a.m. Calling your friends and calling your loved ones to tune in, particularly those who missed today's episode. Let us tune in. And I want to appreciate the thousands of messages that have come, those that I could not read. We appreciate it all. Let us still continue getting interactive on the various social media platforms that we have. Together, we will build a better Ghana for all of us. Indeed, I believe strongly that we need to reset Ghana. Where we are now, we have no option for the sake of Ghana, for the sake of your future, my future, the future of our next generation. We really need to save this country and make sure that we take the right decision. We make the right decision coming 7th December. Thank you so much for being with me. Till we meet again next week, my name is Emmanuel Wilson Jr., the Chief Crusader against corruption. And all I can say for now is good night.